Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mavens of Manufacturing, the video broadcast series that features all powerful women from the shop floor to the C-suite who are changing the world through engineering and manufacturing. Today, I'm really excited because it's been a while since we've last talked, and I'm super excited that you're here today. You've been so busy, Tiffany, so thank you for joining us. We have Tiffany Bryson. She is the business development manager for Blazer Swiss Lube. I wanted to say Blazer, but that's not how you pronounce it. It's Blazer. So welcome, Tiffany. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you? I know that you've been traveling on all over the place and doing a lot of things. So can you just let us know who you are and some of the things that you're doing for Swiss Lube?
Absolutely. First off, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this. Yes, as you mentioned, I am the business development manager for the Americas for Blazer Swiss Lube, and I've been in manufacturing for about 20 years now. Everything from non-for-profit, selling machine tools, to now working for a cutting fluid company. I just took this job about a year ago. I couldn't be more happy. I really, really love this company. I love what they stand for, and I love the way that they stand behind not only their product, but their services. So it's been a really great journey. Additionally, I sat on the Women in Manufacturing board for Ohio for about 5.5 years. I also did committee work for about 5 years as well. Taken a little step back so that I can, focus on some other things, but I'm still very much a part of Women in Manufacturing and being able to push that initiative forward.
We're going to talk about that a little later because I'm also a member for WIM, and I'm super excited because they have their summit coming up, and I'm finally going to be able to go. I've never been, so I'm super excited to meet everyone and network and see what it's all about. I gotta see if I can still sign up for their 5K, but I heard it's almost sold out, so I don't know if I can do that. But I digress. We'll get back to that later. But my first question for you is, how did you end up in this sector? Because a lot of conversations that I'm having with professional women in engineering and manufacturing, most of them have said I fell into it by accident, and they didn't really know about the opportunities that existed, especially in the positions that they were in. So what did your journey look like?
So I was selling real estate, as a matter of fact. I was in real estate for about 7 years. And once the bubble kind of burst, I was a little bit it wasn't as fun, dealing with somebody who's upside down in their mortgage and all the other things. So I wanted to go and do something new and exciting. And there was a non-for-profit in manufacturing that was looking for a project manager. So I thought, let me go ahead and try this. I knew nothing about manufacturing. I literally thought that things just kind of came on shelves, quite frankly. And I think that a lot of people think that, but we all know that's not true, right? It takes an entire army to make these things. So I ended up going into my first job shop. I was blown away, couldn't even believe what was going on, and that there was this entire world behind this curtain. And from there, I was hooked. I was hooked. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is the industry I want to be in. And that's really how it all started. I mean, I didn't know about it until that moment. And then the world kind of opened up and I got a true passion.
That's awesome. So you did talk about Blazer Swiss Lube for a little bit, but can you go into a little bit more detail about what the company does and what it is about their culture that you love so much and why you enjoy working there? Because you are brand new. I would consider it still being brand new after a year, because I think it takes, anytime you start a new job, maybe at least 6 months to get a little bit acclimated, but then a full year to really understand the product line and everything. So what is it about that company culture that you love so much?
Well, I was working actually as a national account manager for another non-for-profit, and Blazer was one of my customers. And I actually went out. We were doing these tours, and their headquarters our headquarters are in Switzerland. So I had gone out to Switzerland to see their facility, and I got to meet the president, which is Mark Blaser. He is third generation. And I was blown away by his passion for not only the company, but for the people that work for him and for his products and his services. And quite frankly, the facility blew me away. So it was one of those things that I always remembered it. And then, as my career progressed and they came to me and said, hey, we've got this position for you and we'd like to see you come on board. And I said, yes, let's do this. Because that's really just wowed by that. It is fluid. Oftentimes, because I sold machine tools, we don't understand fluid, right? We don't understand that this touches our people, our expensive equipment, our, customer parts. We just think it's something wet in there that, but it's chemistry. So that was something that opened my eyes. And that's something that I wanted to share with the industry, is that it's chemistry, and it's extremely important that all the variables are, thought through so you have the right product. We have a headquarters in Goshen, New York, and we are a global company. And we've got a fabulous team here in the Americas that are more than willing and excited to talk about products and definitely talk about our services in the drum. That means that we don't just throw a drum at you. This is really talking about what do you need as a customer to make sure that you get everything you need for your process.
I think that it's cool that they are headquartered in Switzerland. I've never been to, so I've only been out of the country once. I don't count Canada because they're too close to us.
Right.
So I'm sorry, Canada. I love you, but I just don't count that as it's not out of the country. So I've only been to Munich, Germany, and I fell in love with it there. And then I've seen pictures of Switzerland. So I would definitely jump at the chance to work for a company that's out there. Because do you go there often? Like, is that something that you do every year?
So I've been there 4 times.
In the year that you worked there?
No. This is just in the past.
Gotcha.
Because Switzerland's my favorite place to go. Out of all the places I've been to around the world, it's my favorite. And I am actually going out to our headquarters in a couple of weeks. I'm going to hit EMO, which, as we all know, is one of the largest shows in Europe. And then I'll be hitting our headquarters for a week. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm seeing all these posts on LinkedIn about emo, and I'm so jealous. That's definitely a show that I want to try hitting up the next time that it's around, because I keep hearing wonderful things about it, and everybody's posting about it. I'm like, I'm not going to be there. That sucks. But what has been like one of your most memorable moments working in this sector? Like, you already said like why you got hooked to it, but what has been like one of your most memorable? Why is it something you really enjoy being a part of?
Oh, there's so many. I guess, what was I think it's kind of in a broader sense, was becoming, the first woman at the machine tool builder that I was working for. I was the first woman salesperson ever. Wow. And they had been around since like 1940 something. And for me, that was a moment that really just brought a lot of joy for me. And it really, made me think about, that journey, that path that I was making for somebody else, right? For another woman that's going to come in, and how important it was. So I really took that very seriously, but it was a wow moment for me to know, oh gosh, I'm kind of opening up this new path for, another woman to come through. And I have a lot of responsibility for that. And then my other thing is mentoring women has been something that brings me such joy. And I've been mentoring 2 women for the last almost 2 years. And I got to tell you, it's something that brings me just a deep joy to watch them grow as these young women in this industry. So that's another like big moment for me.
So they are in engineering and manufacturing? Yep. That's awesome. I just had a recent conversation with a young engineer, and she was telling me, she's like, I grew up surrounded by guys. She's like, I'm a daddy's girl. So I was really close to my dad, and her dad unfortunately passed away, but she's like sort of succeeding his business, and his prior business partner that was helping him with the business is still involved. So that's like been a mentor for her. And she's like, it's not that I don't appreciate my male mentors. Like, I love everything that they've taught me, and they've had discussions with me. She's like, with my experience, though, I have run into a lot of women who have not been so nice to me. And she's like, I don't know if it's because of my quirks or whatever. She's like, I'm kind of quirky. And she was just saying, she's like, I would love to have more female mentors, because she's like, there's just certain things that I can't talk about with guys. And she's like, it's not something that like is, intentional or whatever, where I just am trying to like push them out. She's like, I just think it would be really good for me to have a woman leader as a mentor. And she's like, we don't really see that often in this sector. Or she's like, I just had some bad experiences where I did try to connect to a woman leader, and she's like, it just was off. Like, there was something off about it. So I really appreciate that you like find value in that, because I think we do need to work together more to provide more female mentors, especially in leadership positions, to mentor the next generation. Because yeah, it's hard, like going through some of this. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when I first started out, there's been some like really lonely moments for me, because I was like, oh, I'm the only person that's experiencing this. And then when the pandemic hit,
Yes.
LinkedIn connected me to other women who were feeling the exact same thing. And it was just really cool to know that, oh, there's other women that felt this. So I'm not the only one. And then now we have like these tribes, and we're texting each other and we're helping each other out. And it's just better for us, because now we have that support system to help us grow in this sector. And again, it's nothing to like insult guys in this sector, like, oh, you guys suck and we're trying to push you out.
No. I mean, it's wonderful that, a lot of men want to step up in manufacturing and be that mentor, or to help a woman succeed. That's great. But, nothing is better than somebody who has been through this. 15 years ago, let me just tell you, this was a different world. And, to be able to talk about that, I think it also goes back and forth, right? Is being able to hear this young mentee talk about their struggles, which could be different than mine, and me learning from them as well is important. And I do want to touch on something real quick, because you made this comment about some women not being very kind to her, or not doing what I like to say is reaching back and bringing that person forward, right?
Yeah.
It's important that and I love the fact that my daughters have been part of this, women kind of, hey, we're all here for each other, instead of this kind of thing. But I would encourage any woman, I don't care who you are, that we need to become stronger together. And that's how we're going to be able to push ourselves forward. It's not by isolating ourselves, or not being true leaders, for other women.
Yeah. I think it's just because for so long it has been male dominated. So like when there was very few of us, the thought process was, oh, there's only one chair for us, so I'm going to compete for that chair, and I'm going to compete like a guy competes, instead of just, no, let's go sit at another table together, or just bring more chairs to the table. Like,
you can always bring more chairs to the table. And not only that, let me just tell you, I think that you're absolutely right. I think, way back when, us women weren't sure how to come to that table. So it was very much like, I have to be a male to be able to do it. And that's something that I've worked on, quite frankly. And my biggest thing is, if I want to bring pastries, I'm bringing pastries. And, I'm not going to worry about what that means or how I am perceived, because, I think that we're working towards something a little bit bigger than that and better.
Yeah. A long time, like when I first started Mavens, I had this conversation with another podcast host. He invited me to his podcast, and he's like, okay, so how can we get more women involved with engineering and manufacturing? And I'm like, you just ask them. And he goes, what? I'm like, you just ask them. And he was like, oh, and I'm like, it's not rocket science. Like, just,
it's not.
Hey, come join us. Do you want to be part of this conversation? He's like, oh, I'm like, it's very simple. So all you got to do is be proactive. And he's like, okay, that's cool. So it's kind of a funny moment, because I think some people just overcomplicate it by overthinking about it. And it's just like, no, just grab their hand pull them into the conversation and encourage them to speak up. And if they're quiet, like ask them directly, what are your insights on this? What are your thought processes on this? And then just get them engaged in the conversation. Because that happened too, where I was at an event for AMT and they had a robotics team there. And of course, there was only one girl part of the robotics team, and she was like the manager, and she got them all together and everything like that. And she was standing there with her arms crossed, and all the guys were talking. So then I was like, well, what did you do? And I like directly pointed to her and asked her. And then some people tried to talk over her. And I'm like, no, let her talk. Let her answer the question I asked her. And I was like, I'm not trying to be mean to you guys, but you got to let her talk. And then afterwards, I told her, I said, hey, you're doing a great job and you are part of this. And this would not have been possible if you weren't part of it. And I was like, other girls are not going to join this team if you yourself don't take it upon yourself to be that person to reach out to them. I was like, so like talk to them, pump this robotics team up, say that you need more women. I was like, you be that person to those other girls. And she's like, okay, I will. And she like relaxed and she uncrossed her arms and she just felt better because I was directing all of my questions to her. So she's like, okay, someone does see me. So we have to do more of that. So I really appreciate that you're mentoring two young ladies because we need it.
If I may say just one thing about that, one thing that I've taught my girls is that, I think it comes with confidence, right? I think it comes with knowing you have a voice. And I've always told my daughter, we were just talking about this, she went and had this dance. I'll never forget it when she was younger. And I could tell she was kind of sitting like this. She was feeling uncomfortable in her dress. And I pulled her off to the side and I said, listen to me. I said, it's all about confidence. I said, even if you don't feel it, let me just tell you, it will happen. I said, put your shoulders back. I want you to walk through that door with confidence and you've got this. I said, and then everybody will feel it. And I got to tell you, she did it. And she still talks about it to this day, that she said that when she goes into a room and she feels uncomfortable, she puts her, shoulders back, she has her confidence and she walks on in. And she said that after she walks out, she has the confidence because you can start to feel it, right? So good for you for doing that for her.
That's awesome. Well, I want to talk about WIM too, because you are a huge part of that as a committee member for the Ohio chapter. And I don't know, like, if you're still connected with them and some of the things that they're still working on, but why was it important for you to be part of that organization? And, what were some of your favorite moments as a committee member? Because they do so much and they have so many chapters and they're now going international. Like they just posted something about an event that they're doing, I think in Barcelona, So what do you love about that group and why was it important for you to be part of it?
So just so you know, I actually I had worked with Allison Graylis, who's the president, when she first had this idea. So I've been involved with this since 2012, the very first really small little conference that we put together with very little money. So it was always a passion, right? And her and I, got along very well because we had the same vision. And then she, obviously took this and just ran with it and has done such an awesome, amazing job. So it was really important for me to be a part of it because it was the one thing that I was missing. Every place that I went, I was the only woman, period. There was no one else. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, well, I need to have, you mentioned a tribe. I needed a tribe that I could go in and talk about things and ask for things and maybe share some good wins and maybe some terrible things. So I just started following it. And I went to the summit every single year since 2012, if not missed one, and was able to really, be a part of this. So I would say that the best thing about WIM is being a part of that summit that comes every year. Last year, it was over 1,000 women that were there and men to help support our initiatives. So I would say that's the moment, right? That's the thing, is that networking. Every single one of these women will say, you come up to them and you say, hey, I kind of need this. They're done. It's already, it's done. Check mark. So it's a really tight group of women from all sorts of leadership. So that would be my favorite.
I'm so excited because I haven't been able to go. So I'm going this year and I cannot wait. And I interviewed Allison a long time ago on Mavens, like when I first started Mavens, and she came on, and I was just so like in awe of her passion. And she really wants to make a change. So it's cool to hear that story of when it first started, to look at it where it is now, because I just talked to another member, Catherine. She's part of AMT, and she's like, yeah, she's like, we're almost sold out. We're almost sold out. And she's like, we have over 1,000 attendees, and she's like, it's going to be the biggest one yet. So just to hear about the progression from other members, it's just really exciting, and I can't wait to be a part of it. Like, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
And it's a very short time, just so you know, a very short time for it to grow that. I mean, since 2012 with an association, that's pretty big. So that's awesome.
And now you're talking about other countries and having chapters in other countries. And I don't think people really understand that, you know, women in engineering and manufacturing, the issue of us being so small in numbers is not just here in the United States. It's a global issue. And yes, there are places in other countries where there are a lot of women on the shop floor, but in leadership positions, I think I've only heard a couple of stories. So for instance, in Taiwan, there's companies there that do a really good job growing the leadership in women. So there's companies that have a lot of women in leadership. But that's not everywhere. It's specific to your area and the demographic and everything. But it is a global issue. I mean, there's still some countries out there where women have to leave and either go to places like England or America so that they can have a fair chance of progressing forward. I've talked to several women from India who are like, yeah, I studied engineering here in India, but I had to leave and go to a different country because for me to continue growing in my career, that those were the only opportunities that I had. So I don't think people can grasp that. And so when people are like, oh, why does it matter if we call you out as a woman or not? You don't have to necessarily call me out as a woman, but what you need to understand is that it's not only happening here, it's happening in other areas too. And this is why we're trying to come together, because we want to encourage more of the younger generations, especially women, to just, you know, take that leap and try something and do something that, yeah, this is a place for you. So come join us. And yeah, it might be hard at first, but there's women here and we're here to support you. So yeah, I'm glad that she's getting out there on a international level as well too. I wish I could go to that summit in Barcelona. I wish I could do that.
Too, believe me too.
I saw that post and I was like, dang it, I really want to go to that. So we have this workforce shortage that everybody is talking about. And, you know, there's people asking questions and debates going on, whether it's like a training thing, a skills shortage, you know, and everybody then is like, oh, automation is going to help with it. But now with our economy and how interest rates are set up, there's companies that are hesitant to even like think about automation because there's too much risk involved. So what can we do as a sector? And even if we do bring in automation, I still feel like people are going to want to work, but they want to have work that's valuable to them. Like they have to be passionate about it and they want to make a difference. So I think one way is we have to really change how we're talking about engineering, manufacturing. But I wanted to get your insights on it. As a sector, what can we do not just for future generations, but for current generations? How can we start bringing that pride back to American manufacturing? Because I mean, in the 40s, like I have Mavens. Oops, I did it wrong. I have Mavens dedicated to Rosie the Riveters because in the 40s, you know, we banded together and we made up around like 40% of the manufacturing force back then. And we were proud about it. Like we were really proud about the things that we were, even with the dirty jobs. I talked to one Rosie. She's 93 years old. She's very petite. She's like, yeah. She's like, when I worked, she's like, I was the lightest person. So I had to put this suit on. They tied a rope around me. They'd hand me a bomb and then they hoist me up and I would put the bomb in the plane. And she's like, oh my gosh, just kept doing that. And she's like, and then when I was done, she's like, I had to go get a shower because I was covered in all this powder. She's like, if a spark hit me, I probably would have like caught on fire. She was so cute. So like, how can we bring that pride back, especially among future generations, because I feel like Gen Z is getting a lot of flack for being so digitally connected, and people are calling them lazy and saying they just want to be influencers and all that stuff. But I don't think that's the case.
So, two things. So, first and foremost, how do we keep the people that we have now, right? You made a good point about the, older generations talking about the younger generations and making their, assumptions about who they are and what they are. Doesn't matter, because guess what? They're the ones that we need, because we need a workforce here in manufacturing. And the problem that we have, and one that I think is important, and I do see it in many companies, it's about culture. We are not in a culture of my father any longer. My father worked differently than I did. My father expected things differently than I did. And now the generations behind me have expectations for things differently. So we can like it or we can't like it, but it doesn't matter, because this is the new generation. So we have to think about culture, and we have to think about what it engages them to make sure that we can bring them on and keep them and retain them within our companies, right? That's important. And then when it comes down to how do we have pride in manufacturing again, I think we can all agree that because we have this workforce, disparate, that we're having issues. The reason is we have not been telling a good manufacturing story. We haven't. I mean, it's proven, right? So we have to tell that story, and we have to be willing and responsible, each of us, leaders and everybody in this manufacturing industry, of telling our story to anybody that will listen, and talking about not only the coolness of technology, this close-knit group that's willing to support you, but also talking about inclusion, that we're willing and open to all. I think that if we can tell a really good story, and we can, continue to grow within these cultures of these companies to attract, those generations that are coming, I think we could do a really good job of making manufacturing not only a pride for everybody, but also bringing in some workforce.
Yeah. One of the people I like always bringing up is Andrew Crow, because he, his story is just so touching. And I've seen it firsthand on several occasions. But the first time that I met him, I was just like, wow, this guy is so charismatic, and he is just so passionate about what he does, and he enjoys doing what he does. And we need more people like that to really connect with the younger generation. I've always said he's the only person that I've seen really connect with the younger generation in a different way than other people have that I've talked to. And he's not like fake about it. He's really genuine about it. And I brought him to the high school that I graduated from, because there are a lot of students who think that, okay, I either need to join a gang and sell drugs, commit to a life of crime, and maybe be alive by the time I'm 24. There's a lot of kids in that school that I graduated from like that. So I was like, listen, I can't connect with them like you can. I'm a white girl from suburbia. Like, they're not going to listen to me. They'll probably listen, but they're not going to like take me serious. I was like, they will take you serious. You will be that light of hope for them. He came, he did his keynote, and he had kids crying, because they were just like, I didn't think I could do this. I didn't think people cared. And so we have to like understand that there are some kids out there who come from really traumatic places, and all they are looking for is someone to connect to that can give them that light of hope to say, yeah, you can change your story. You can, yeah, it might have been like this, but you can change your story, and you can actually pursue something and be successful at it and be really good at it and actually make a really good living. You don't necessarily have to go to a 4-year college. You can, push that to the side and wait till later. Like, it's always going to be, I tell that to my daughter all the time, because she was like really hell bent on going to a 4-year university. And I was like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Like, I think you should like maybe take a year off and travel around the world and get some life experience. And she's like, no, Ma, I just want to get it out of the way. And she was really determined to do it. And I even had another Antigone Sherrish. She's part of Illinois WIM chapter, I believe. And she does like, I'm going to mess up the name. It's like Gears something and Thingamajigs. sorry, Antigone, I messed up the name, but she's involved a lot with a lot of manufacturing groups. And she even told my daughter, she's like, if you go to a community college and you take these courses and all that stuff, she's like, you can earn while you learn and you'll be a nurse faster. You don't have to do the whole 4-year program. And my daughter was just like, nope, I want to do it. I want to move away and do my own thing. So I'm proud of her for doing her own thing. But I don't think a lot of kids understand that you don't have to do 4 years right away. You can go to a community college. You can get a part-time job, like a bartender or a waitressing job, and not have to worry about school for a while and travel around the world and learn about other cultures. Like, you don't have to be so linear in your career path. Like, we have to stop pressuring kids.
Well, it's like anything. Everything's changing, and the way that we are, sending our, 18-year-old kid and saying, what are you going to be? And make sure you're going to be it now. I mean, I think it's ridiculous. Their brains are not even developed until 25. It's like, come on. I want to make one comment though. You talked about, Andrew and, these different people that we haven't touched in the past that we need to. I mean, there's everybody. I mean, we're talking about veterans. We're talking about people that want second chances, incarcerated people. We're talking about single moms and dads that, need that second chance. I mean, there's just so many out there that we just have glossed over because we had the mindset of just one. So I love that. And I think the more that we talk about all these different people that could be a part of this industry, I think that's when we're going to be able to bring them on and grow our industry, even more than it already is.
Yeah. Well, even like uniquely abled individuals as well, too. Like, there's a gentleman, Jason, who, Jason Bean is his last name. He wrote a book about, he's more involved with like the AI sector part of engineering and manufacturing, but he's on the spectrum. He has autism. And I connected with him because I started talking about my nephew, because my sister-in-law was a little concerned about my nephew being on the spectrum. I'm like, oh gosh, no, you don't have to be concerned at all. Like, he could excel in engineering because he has that thought process. He has that type of brain. And he built his own computer by the time he was like 15 or 16 years old. And he has a plan. He's like, this is what I'm going to do. He's a senior this year. And he's like, I'm going to go to college. I'll probably get a job at McDonald's. He's like, I'll probably work there for a little bit. When I'm done with college, I'm going to make computer games. Like, I'm going to be a computer game engineer. Like, he already has his
entire thing. Like,
and he's just so
that's an engineering brain.
He's just so matter of fact about it. And it's funny because he doesn't have a filter either. So like, I don't want to say he doesn't have empathy, but he doesn't understand why some people get all like emotional about things. So sometimes he'll just look at you and you'll be like, what the heck is wrong with you? Why are you acting this way? And it's like, okay, you got to be a bit more empathetic, And he's like, no, I don't. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And like, you just need to understand. Like, he's a really cool individual. So I'm really excited to see where he goes after graduation. And he got his driver's license. Like, he's awesome. He's just so fun to be around. So yeah, I think we just need to like stop setting limitations for people and stop punishing them for like past mistake too. Because even second chance citizens, like if they can just get that one person to give them a chance, like that one person did for Andrew, they could take this sector so far if we just let them. So, absolutely. Well, Tiffany, this has been such a great conversation, and I love your energy and I love your passion, and I hope you're going to win this year because I really want to see you in person again and have a conversation with you. And, if I make it to Switzerland the same time that you're out there someday, maybe I can come visit Blaser Swiss Loop, because I think that would be a cool facility tour. But I do want to ask you, if you had one ask for our audience today, what would that big ask be for you?
I think it goes back to telling the manufacturing story. We have to tell that story, not to each other, but to our friends, our family, to people on the plane, on the train, wherever we may be. We need to tell the story of manufacturing, and the more that we can tell that story, the more that people can get excited about it. So that's what I would like everybody to do.
Absolutely. Well, Tiffany, thank you again for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we've finally got a chance to connect because it's been a long time since we first connected. And, I don't think people understand how busy engineering manufacturing can get. And I'm just glad that we were able to finally cross paths and you were able to share your story. So thank you again. And everybody that's tuning in, make sure you connect with Tiffany. If they have questions about Blazer Swiss Lube and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way to connect with you?
I would say right on LinkedIn. Just come on in and click right on me. You can inbox me. I'm constantly there. I'm constantly posting, and that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Tiffany. I hope you have a great
Thanks
day.
for having me.
To everyone tuning in, be sure to tune in next time. We got another great episode of Mavens of Manufacturing coming up. Bye, everyone. This episode of Mavens has been sponsored by Fresh Horizons Group. Fresh Horizons Group is a family-run company that was founded on the premise of helping organizations and businesses better tell their story through high-quality branded apparel and promotional items. Freshen up your brand by contacting Fresh Horizons today at freshhorizonsgroup.com.